Hello, I want to show you my way of thinking, how I think in digital brushes and how you can use it in mark making. So this is sharp edge. We talked about edges last time and controlling brush size. Sharp edge, small size, medium size, softer edge. Uh, three number. I call this a three stroke, which is like this size, this thickness is a three stroke, and this edge is also a three stroke because it is softer. This is a two stroke, this is a one stroke. So now that we begin to develop something, let's draw this pen, right? I'm going to look at it directly, not through the phone screen. I see two edge, one edge, one edge, one edge. I'm not looking at the paper at all. I'm thinking in edges. I'm showing you what I'm seeing. One edge, two edge, two edge, two edge, one edge, three edge, one edge, two edge, two edge, three edge, one, two, it's two edge. This is, I make this through this is edge quality, thinking in edge quality, right? If we had to look at something else, what else do we have? We're gonna see a three edge. It's hard to say because I'm in incandescent light. It's nighttime right now. You can look at this shadow over here. That would be a three edge. You could even say it's a four edge, right? So what the concept is, when you put three strokes instead of one stroke, it makes it softer by putting more strokes, right? If you put just one stroke, the edge quality becomes sharper naturally. So if you had a patch of thing, there's no edge, let's say, in this patch because there are so many strokes used for rendering it. If there were a stroke inside it with one thing, right? Let's make it lighter if you want. It's still a sharp edge. If the same stroke were two strokes, it would be a softer edge. Three strokes, softer edge. You can make it darker too, but it will still be a softer edge, right? That's why we count the number, because we are thinking edge quality, right? Not necessarily brush size. So I draw this way and I enjoy it a lot, right? So looking at this paper, two edge and then three edge. So it's not necessarily about brush size, it is about edges. But in digital, it naturally happens that way. When the brush size increases on a soft brush, the edge becomes softer. That's what's, gave birth to this idea. If you make something, if I give more strokes to rendering something, it'll become softer in quality. And it is that way. Lesser strokes do produce that way. And then we talked about opacity last time. So if we have a three edge, we can just put three edge on it and make it a gradation. But I'm always thinking in what edge number I am in, right? So I have a few studies. This was like a wrapper of kind of a wrapper that you get for chips. Although it was not for chips, I don't. But this would be like the shadow of that crease inside of the wrapper, rendered with tapering, curving gradations, and this is rendered with the number of edges. This is like, you can clearly see it, three edge. When I do this, I'm practicing looking at the edges. This is not about representing it. So, and this is how it came while I was looking at the wrapper and my hand made these marks. I put a guideline, like a spine for it, so that there's some reference. Anthony Ryder does it too with tapering, curving gradations. So 3 edge, 3 edge, 4 edge, let's say, an edge, 2 edge. This is 1 edge, 1 edge, right? You can see it like that. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of expression. This is something like the side of something, like a dish or something, and this was the shadow. And you can see how many strokes there are over here, so that this is when something is far away from it, the shadow becomes softer. When it is closer, the shadow becomes sharper. So as it goes away, because the light is getting into that shadow, so the shadow is getting less and less dark. So it has a soft edge, like that. This is for expression. This is a way of thinking. When you begin to layer it up and refine it with fine rendering more and more, all of this is going to disappear. So that from the side of expression, we are going towards representation then. Classical art, photographic representation, which is like, this is me. And classical representation is for you, for the viewer. This is important to me. So the more I refine it finally, and the more strokes I put in it, then I'm covering up my identity and my expression with the photographic quality of the subject. So what do we do about that? Well, it's about hand control, using short-term memory. This is this way because, see, I showed this to my mom. I drew a drawing for her, a life drawing of an article, like a spoon or something like that. And I showed it to her, and then I said, let me draw you, and in this expressive way. So I drew her face without looking at the paper. And then I showed her, and I told her, I'm seeing this. And she said, I understand your concept and expression, but you were able to see that, but it is difficult for me to see that. You're seeing something, but I'm not able to understand it. But maybe an experienced artist might be able to understand it and see it, how you see it. Then I realized that it's about hand control. If I looked at the paper instead of looking at her, so if I captured the face with short-term memory, photographic memory that we call it, I brought it in and I pulled it in. And I have that. As soon as I look at something and I look at the paper, I can see that thing in the paper. So it's not difficult for me to make a mark, right? See that over here. And this is not about classical, which Anthony Ryder would do, like angle, establish a target, point-to-point vision. I'm doing that wire. This one, right? Point-to-point vision, and then like an envelope for it, and then break down into angles, and then do that. I did that with just this, right? I can look, and when I see it on the paper, my hand is going to do that. I know it, and it's if it does this, I can make corrections. I can be careful and make that mark. It's about hand control, and so when instead of looking at her and just drawing on the paper, when I use my short-term memory and look at the paper and express it, then she will be able to understand it. Because it's not going haywire like that. It is still this. I'm seeing that inside the shadow, these little things inside the shadow. but they're expressed with more control in the sense that they're more carefully done. So if this were a Terminator, then I would put an outline for it, and then I would begin to shade around it and do TCG or whatever I want. 3-stroke, 2-stroke, 4-stroke, 2-stroke, 1-stroke. So these are, I'm seeing them inside them, but they will be more accurate because there's this guiding outline to it, right? Or there's this short-term memory that is coming to use, and I can already, if you can see something on a paper, right? You can see these 3 dots on the paper. How difficult is it? It's so easy to connect these, or if this were a curve, because you can already see that on the paper. So I'm able to, seeing something and wanting to express it. There's a trade-off between what you want to do, what you want to express. If you're trying to capture something really fast, then you don't have much of a choice, except having hand control. That is, like, even when you're looking at the subject and you're drawing on the paper, you know how the hand is drawing on the paper exactly. Like, this point to this point on the paper, I'm not looking at the paper. Let's say I'm not looking at the paper. And the hand still is able to do that kind of control. There's not much room for expression in portraits because a nose needs to be this way. I cannot express a nose this way. But I can express a deltoid this way, and because I know the insertion and origin of bicep, no matter what I do, right? Brachialis and brachioradialis, it's kind of going to look like a human. But it doesn't work that way with portrait. They need to be, so on this side there is expression, on this side there is classical tradition or real. This is also realism, this is realism, all of this is realism. We're talking about realism, but this is abstraction or expression, and this is the classical tradition. So on the portrait side, you would need a classical tradition because it needs to be finely rendered. One can choose to make a nose longer or the bridge of the nose this way, but to convey that it is that way, it needs to be exactly rendered and finely rendered. But it need not be so with shadows, cast shadows of the rest of the body and stuff. So that is one area where you can play. And to express it so that others may be able to understand it, you need to be careful. You must look at the paper. So let's talk about the 1-stroke, 2-stroke again. The edge control with the stroke number. By the way, this I want to show you this. I was going to sleep, and in the moonlight, I saw this curtain. And this is the curtain, shadow of the curtain, right? Like that, shadow of the curtain. And then suddenly, the shadow was breaking, and there was light over here. Like, the shadow was breaking over here, and this part was light. And I saw smoothness lines over here, as if there is an abstraction that is, the form is lost over here, there is an abstraction, and there are form lines running this way. And then this part at the bottom of the curtain had this shape, the top had this shape, and then I thought, this is like this, and then this is like this shape over here, like this, and this shape, the bottom shape was like this. Now that this is like this and this is like this, and this shape is kind of like a square over here, and there are form lines running over here, what feels like this form is running this way, this abstraction is running this way, even though the curtain, the darkness of the curtain is this way? Well, because there's nothing over here to indicate that. There were no lines really that were going this way in this abstraction. So what conveyed that? Well, it was this. Let's say this is a curtain, this is a breakage in the curtain. At the tip of this curtain, there was a little bit of this. That's it. And that conveys the direction. So what is this? Where can we apply this? We can apply it to the butt. Robert McGinnis does that a lot. I'll show it to you. Where did I draw the butt? Okay. This one. So this is the base of the butt. This is the trochanter area. There's a shadow going on over here, right? This is the curtain, basically. This is a midline of the butt. And, right? So this is supposed to be a line. And this is straight. At the tip, if you before it disappears into the abstraction, if you do this, it's going to have that. And you can put form lines over here too, like that. Let me show it to you. That was his dad's painting. He was in the army. Very precious book. I saved up for it. This one, right? This is a vertical abstraction happening. But what makes it vertical? This cut over here. So this form is running this way, but right at the edge where that form goes here and transitions to this cuts right at the tip of that form over here, just like the curtain cut over here at the tip. Running this way, cuts at the tip this way. Running this way, cuts at the tip this way. And this is interdigitation, the concept Anthony Ryder talks about. This is branching. Like now we're talking in the domain of tapering, curving gradations. If we have a form, branch this way. So this is not perpendicular, but it branches that way. Like that, interdigitation happens in the body too. Look at that. This tendon, the tendon of my index finger, the vein is running across it. That is interdigitation, that is branching. And if you look at the shadows, how do I show this? If you look over here, the shadow is running this way, right? This way. But over here, where my nail is, there's a shadow cutting this way too. That is branching, that is interdigitation. So if I draw it for you, that was a shadow of the vein, and there was a little bit of shadow over here. That is interdigitation. You can see it over here. See? Going this way. So this happens in forms a lot. So this is the concept used to indicate smoothness or abstraction. Look at that. This is lost. So the parallel lines are conveying the directionality of the abstraction. We talked about that last time. Right, so with strokes, one edge, two edge, three edge. Let's draw something. My back is killing me. I need to sit. Seriously, I've been like hunching the whole time. Why? Let me show you how I applied it, by the way. This is done that way. Like 5-stroke, 2-stroke, 3-stroke, a certain number of strokes, 2 strokes, like that. This is a 1-stroke. See that? That's a sharp edge. Like that, and it can change in directionality too. Some strokes can be this way too, even though all of them over here are running this way. So this is one, right? And this is just my hand losing control over here. Because I'm looking at the reference, I'm not looking at the paper. I should do that more. I should look at the paper more, so that you guys, the audience, will be able to understand what I'm seeing, and so that I'm expressing what I'm seeing properly, and not just seeing, but also representing, showing what I'm seeing too properly. And this one too, same thing. Okay, look at how soft this edge is. It's a gradation, but this is branching happening. This is going this way, this is going this way, and that's a two edge. So that creates that edge in there. In here too. Edge, edge, edge. Look at this. This is a form, but this is an edge happening over here. These are edges happening over here because of the nature of how it's been represented. This is going this way, but this is going this way, branching interdigitation. Right? What else? Branching. Let's look at the book while I think. So it's about finding the edges inside of flat things too, like flat shadows. And you would make something have an interesting edge structure to it if you want to emphasize that part. Otherwise, you can do it just simply, which is like this, like just coloring it in, or even if you're doing like a classical drawing, you would extract the shape out of that thing, right? Is this a safe paper? It is. Right. So drawing together, if you can. Okay, let's say I want to put, I'm not looking at the paper, but I should look at it in my drawing. Oh my God. I don't like it when I lose my expression. But I'm learning to do it now, to combine both the powers, the expression and the thing. Okay. So let's say I wanted to put this shadow, and I want to do it the opposite of this, which is make it non-interesting. I don't want to make it interesting. I just want to make it non-emphasized. So I would just outline this and put a flat wash in it. Or you can color it properly too, or you could do a flat wash in it. So there are no, if there are no edges happening over there, then it is non-emphasized. It is just like another thing that is just supposed to be there, like a placeholder. That, okay, don't pay attention to it. Like it's just there for like it's a scaffolding there for indicating what the drawing is. But if you do something like this, then you're telling the audience, like, look at this properly, look at this properly, right? If you do this, then there's like nothing to see here, just some value. It looks nice though. It looks, it has a graphic quality. James Martin does that in his pinups, and it looks really nice. And it saves time too, so that you don't have to render everything like Anthony Ryder. Then you can choose to just fill up an area and just get done with the drawing, or move on to a more interesting area that you're actually interested in representing. That's what I was thinking about. And this is a way of abstraction, by the way, finding edges. This is abstraction with edges. This is not classical art in the sense that we're not thinking in value, so we're not rendering a form in like the way where we were like, if this were like this, and then this were like a mid-tone, and then this is supposed to be a block-in of a dark value, and then we run over this, and this is supposed to be a dark, then this is second value, and this is third value where it is light, and then we're thinking in values, and we're thinking in form. Oh, how beautiful, like a cylinder. Oh, how beautiful, praise the Lord, this is form. Oh my God, such a cool artist. And I I like to think in edges. Why? Because these forms, these cylinders and things, at the end of the day, they're just going to look like cylinders and all of that, which we often see in classical art, and I don't enjoy rendering that way. I just don't. You know, how much of a cylinder are you seeing over here? I mean, it's not a cylinder at all. Even though, you know, not really a cylinder. It's not. I see so much interdigitation going on over here, right? Where, I mean, it's different, right? I see edges. I see so many edges going on over here. I see texture of the skin, the veins. When you approach it with the edges, then you begin to find the edges in things. I'm going to draw my vein and then my thumb, looking through the phone screen. Right? That's... Oh my God, how would I show it? It is a vein on my thumb. The vertical vein. This would be the tip ending of the vein, ending of the vein. Ending of the thumb over here. Right? This is through edges, and what happens is, when we find the edges that way, this is what begins to happen. Anthony Ryder. Look at these branching interdigitation. He's finding the edges. Not a lot of value going on. Found the edge, found the edge, found the edge. Found the edge, found the edge, found the edges. This begins to happen then. This is expression. This is not classical art. This is not like the classical we're talking about, you know. I don't know what people consider Anthony Ryder, but this is like beyond classical. Okay, this is edges. Okay, this happens when you begin to find edges. This is not values. These are edges. Within this, there is this edge. Within this, there is this edge. Within this, there's a little bit of this edge, a little bit of this edge. This is thinking in edges. It creates something that, you know, all of these, where he leaves things incomplete. Okay, this is normal stuff, like classical stuff, everybody does that. But where he leaves stuff incomplete, like he's going for lunch, okay, I'm going to take a break, I want to go for lunch, and he leaves the chair, walks away. Look at this. Edges, edges, edges. Really interesting stuff. That's where he shines, Anthony Ryder. Look at it. So much of edge. Where are the values? Tell me, where are the values? It's edges. Which legs reflected light would be so white? Why is it white? Because he doesn't care about the value. He's not purposely making it whiter than it is. To like, you know, this is not defying something. He's not being rebellious. He is describing the edges. That's why it is like that. Okay, I'll catch you later.